Hello everyone, welcome to another race recap. I'm still being very novice in my editing skills, so I don't have any fancy forward and backward stuff, but I will just give a recap of these two races that happened on Monday. They were from the North Sea Bandit Regatta, so only bandit boats allowed in this race. And yeah, I tried to experiment with a few things this particular day. I came in without any practice, but I've done these courses and done this boat often enough that I don't want to say I don't need it. Every bit of practice helps. But in this case, it kind of just like gave it a go. Wanted to try a few different things. Wanted to see how they would work or how things would react, so that I know for future races when I'm feeling more competitive and edgy, I can kind of like nail things in and get things going. So, coming up, we have the race start, and for this first race, my plan is just kind of like very typical starboard tack start, where I just do my usual killing time at the start, make my way to my position, and try to like bolt through the end. I'll take a few moments to talk through the start procedure. You can kind of see it here. I start off with just the jib, even though I could go spinnaker as soon as I'm up to speed and just like blitz past everybody, but it's a 3 minute countdown before the start. I don't want to get to the line too early because that's always more detrimental, but I also definitely don't want to go too late because, especially for me these days, that slow start or those bad starts are where I really lose out on the races. So for now, I'm not using an ideal trim, as you can see from my wind compass in the top right. Just make my adjustments to get away from everybody, get to where I need to be, and then I'll start slowing down when I get to that 2 minute mark. Get to this corner over here, you'll see my viewers a little bit on the choppy side. It's because of that house and all the stuff that's in there. But once I clear that, everything's smoothed down. I can slow down. I can go like knob optimal sales. I really want to get to the, well, in this case, the top of the region by around that 40-second mark, and then make my final attack and try to have as much speed as possible going over the line. So, if you look at the mini-map, you see the dots are fairly spread out, so there's not really much risk of anything crazy happening right now. That will quickly change. You do see some of the boats around me are also similarly just like moving at a slow pace. This is like the chess game at the pre-start where we're trying to get up optimal position, trying to make sure that we can get through cleanly to where we want to be without getting impacted by other sailors, and fun times. Because this is the Bandit Regatta, this is not the big boats, small boats. Anything made by Bandit is welcome, which includes this gigantic pink boat, which actually causes me some grief at the start. But going over the replay, I kind of realized that was actually my doing. I was just really late on the marks, not paying as much attention because I was distracted by some other boats that were like coming in at me hard. But it is what it is. It cost me a bad start, but you will see that in just a few moments. We're at that 45-second mark. You see this blue boat over here just coming at me. Technically, I guess she would have had some sort of right of way, but in the pre-start, those things kind of like are a gray area. But here, I did not adapt to that pink boat in front of me. So I'm here making my attack, my turn, going on their way. They kind of like turn into me, but it was where they turned. They were already on the starboard tack. But also, like, I had a chat with them, and they're like, yeah, I haven't sailed in a couple of weeks, and hit a wrong gesture. And, honestly, like, that's not that big a deal as much as it did give me a bad start. But it's just, thing happens. We had a good civilized chat afterwards. We had a laugh about it. We move on and we practice and we go for the next race. So, here you see the big pink boat and I were side by side. We're going through it. The green light's been going forever. You see like all those boats ahead of me. It's like, yeah, I'm not in the running for this race anymore because wins and losses happen. Well, I think they happen at the start, but it's not the end of the world, as this race will kind of showcase. Now, here comes an interesting feature, right? So, the way we're currently going, almost all of us are heading in the same direction. And you would have seen in one of my previous race recaps that if I just do the same thing that everybody's doing, I'm just going to lose out, because here I will just eat a lot of wind shadow. I won't go anywhere. I'm already not on an ideal heading. Like you can see, like the ball and my indicator on my wind compass is great. it's indicating that I've got wind shadow, which means I'm running at 10 or 20% less speed than everybody else, which means it's just killing my race time. So I attack. I get out of the way, get out of everybody's way. This is not ideal because this means I have to do 2 more maneuvers, and it also is a risk because once I get to the very end of the mark, I need to make a 180-degree turn, and they need to make a 90-degree turn. And every time you turn these boats, you lose speed. And because I have to make a bigger turn, I'm going to come out of the mark with less speed, and so they will catch me. But I'm doing this as a risk because I know that I'm sailing faster in the straight line in clear air. You see by the way the dots are, the other black dot to the west of me, she's like way ahead. And then the other dots, they're like, I'm basically like a sim behind everybody else at this point, or half a sim. So all I can do now is race clean, smooth, keep things going steady, get myself to my turning point, and try to play the catch-up game. Nothing much more to say, and if I knew how to fast forward, I would fast forward this little boring bit over here, but you will at the very least see the technique that I'm employing, and this is actually a fairly important technique, so maybe a good opportunity to discuss. You see my sail changing very frequently between the Genoa and the jib. What's happening is this is a technique that I'm calling code swapping. It's not something that you would normally find in a boat. This is kind of like, we'll call it a bug. Some people call it a feature. But basically, because this boat, it hoists and lowers sails instantly, you can kind of cheat the game in a sense of where you can just quickly, rapidly change your sails, and it will give you a little bit of a faster burst of speed. But if you heel over too much, you will lose a lot of speed. So there's a risk and reward aspect to it. You'll see tons of people trying it. You'll see a lot of people not doing it so well. I've kind of like practiced enough where I've got a sweet spot with it, but there are people that do it way better than I do. But for the most part, I know within this crew of racers here, I would say that I do it well enough that I should be able to take an edge and get ahead. You saw the boat going ahead of me, like they're one of the people that do it really well, and now it's for me to chase down and catch them and what have you. You also see that with their good start, how far they ahead that boat is. You'll also see as I complete this turning and get to the mark, what an advantage she has in order to stay clear of all the other boats once you get that start right. Their start was a port tack start at the pin end, mine was a starboard tack at the committee boat end, and you will see in the next race I attempt it, and you will also see why I will probably never attempt it again. And there's a good reason for it. But focusing on this race, you'll see here I got a little bit too much heel, so I lost over there, and you can see from the speed that I'm making, 7.8 knots, what have you. You see that with this technique, I am able to put down a little bit more speed, like get that extra burst of speed, and that is the edge that you will get with this boat in order to get ahead of the rest. You see now the beacon mark, you'll see like the green dot showing up to it. That is the pink boat that I had a little kerfuffle with at the very start. It's a different class boat, so a completely different league. But you see the other boats that are way behind, like almost an entire sim behind. Those are the people I'm competing against. Those are the people that I need to pay close attention to in terms of where we come out for, and those are the people that I need to be ahead of at this mark. You kind of see also the difference between sailing in clean air versus being in the mix with wind shadow and fighting and defending, the massive impact that has on, well, making the course and getting ahead of everybody. So because I'm in that clean air, I'm not fighting with anybody, I'm not doing any defensive lines or any defensive sailing, I can just try to go as fast as I can in a straight line. And you see that I make this mark ahead of all the other boats I was behind earlier. Right, that's a testament of one, the code swapping technique, and two, just being in clean air. But you see now here as caption, I have to make a 180 turn. And you see my speed, it drops all the way down to 6, down into 5, down into 5, almost 4, and then here I'm picking up speed again. But if you look at the dots that are behind me, their maneuver is a lot sleeker, which means they're coming around that bend with more momentum through there. They're probably there at like 8 knots to begin with, and they're going around it at 8 knots, and then they're just going to continue at that speed, which means you see those dots and where they are, you'll see how much they're going to close in on me. And well, because of that, you will see my race get a little bit dangerous. But this, I believe, is now heading towards. Nope, there's not the end yet. There's a little bit more racing to go. So, well, we just continue. I've managed to pick up my speed and get to my the top speed that I can go in this boat. And now it's just a matter of continuing to sail clean, stay ahead of the boats behind me, and I'm probably not going to catch the two boats that are ahead of me, but I can try. Important thing is just to stay clean. But again, that momentum thing I was talking about where they had the more speed, you can see them actually like creeping in closer and closer and closer. You see that little black dot that's behind me? It was nowhere near my yellow circle on the mini map, and now it's dangerously close. In fact, when I do my jutting, you will see them right in my view. But it's okay, as long as I keep to my line. I don't think I need to defend much here because they are the boat behind. They need to stay clear. When we get to the mark, I will probably still beat the boat ahead unless they manage to overlap, which means I will have the right of way at the mark, which means they need to, keep clear and not barge in. However, the reason why they have a black dot is because there's a good chance that they will play dirty and do something stupid, so one of the reasons why I started recording these in the first place. But here you can see I'm clear ahead, there's no overlaps, so I've got a mark right away. I'm in time to take a whole field, and I take my turn, and I line it up, and I do my swaps of my sails and my trim and everything as quickly as I can, and I continue on my course. So you see the boats behind me, maybe they didn't do an ideal turn as I did, and so they've just fallen back a little bit. That's great because it gives me some breathing room to just, continue sailing. Not much more to really say for this next long segment, just, sail clean, slow is steady, steady is smooth, smooth is fast. And just my little mantra that I keep reminding myself so I don't panic, freak out, and do anything too crazy. So we've gone past our last mark now, and now it's just like on the way to the finishing line. And nothing much more to say. Like my run was a little bit smooth after this. It was just a rough start. If I had made the start cleaner, I would have probably finished way better. But that's okay. Some lessons were learned in this one, so that's for me a win. It's always a win when there's learning to be had. And you can see as they come towards the finish line slowly but surely. I mean, this is just 15 knot wind. This is not exactly the most speedy Gonzalez effort. But just, sailing it clean and staying in clean air, to me, that was the big takeaway in this particular instance. And just, encourages you to try those little bit of different strategies so that you can just, like if you're behind them, you're going to stay behind. If you try something a little bit different, you will try a little bit different. And you did not see me bump into that boat over there. You didn't see that. Third over the line, not terrible. Could be better, could be worse. I will take it, and now we just sit tight and prepare for the next race. So this race was a bit more tricky. Like I attempted to do some stuff that is kind of questionable. Like I kind of already knew this wasn't going to go well, but this is one of those things where I could only test it in a race setting with all these boats and all these people present. And that's simply because just like one of the limitations with SL, and when I'm practicing, I don't necessarily have the luxury of having all the race conditions active. The limitation I'm speaking of is specifically when you've got like 8 to 10 to 12 boats in a region. Sim crossings into that region are going to be absolutely brutal. Like you lose control of your boat forever, and that is something that I wanted to test in this race to see. And the reason why I want to test it is because I know theoretically the port side, the port tack start on the pin end is a much faster start than a starboard tack at the committee boat end, simply because depending on the course and the direction you need to make your first tack on the course after the start, it will allow you to do less maneuvers, which also means when you're coming in from south to north, you're coming in at a reach, which means you're entering at a higher speed, and you're thus going to be able to take that line at a significantly higher speed than everybody else that's coming in at a close haul. So I want to experiment it because, like as a racer, I want to do the best I can and get the best result, and the best results come from having clean starts. So here we've got the start line going. Everybody's going off. I'm pretty sure I forgot to click on my screen after I hit record, so I was hitting all the buttons, but I was not selecting the video. But here we go. Now we're going to start. And now the start procedure for me is different in this one. I want to get ahead of all these boats, and I want to head south, and I want to get out of this region because I kind of want to time my tack and my turn such that I'm coming in under the spinnaker, which means significantly faster than if I was on the jib at close haul. And then I want to turn into that pin end and head straight west at a close haul. West or east? I want to go directly west under close haul, and I will have the higher speed, which means I will get ahead of all the boats, and I will be well on my way to hitting that first mark ahead of everybody. That was the plan in my head anyway. But, well, we're going to see, but let me not spoil it. So in order to make that work, we have 2 minutes left on the clock right now. I'm calculating in my head, okay, if I sail this way for about a minute 15, or like I have like say 45 seconds left on the clock and I turn around, but the time it took for me to get there will be significantly faster on the spinnaker, so it'll take me about 45 seconds to get back to the line under the spinnaker going downwind. So that's my plan. I want to do that, and I want to get as close to the pin as possible for the start while maintaining as maximum speed as humanly possible. And that's the attempt. And that, quite frankly, means because this is a 3-minute pre-start, I have to go fairly far away to like kind of get the distance I need to pull that out. So I actually need to make a couple of sim crossings. And usually, as you may notice from my starts, I try to make as few crossings as possible at the pre-start simply because I don't want to risk a crash, disconnect, lag instance, but that is exactly what I'm risking in this particular start. This is one of those risk versus reward scenario. So, you know, I've got 50 seconds left, so I'm going to start my attack. I want to be heading downwind when I'm at 45 seconds. I'm a little bit slower to do that here, like I've kind of like missed it by 5 seconds. Not the worst thing in the world, which means I will be behind the line by a little bit, but that's okay. We will adjust, and this is all for science, right? We're just trying to play around, we're trying to figure it out. We are going to give this a run and see how this goes. So, if you remember from the first race, I was going upwind at about 7 knots. Here I'm already at 16 knots. So, like, I have significantly more speed than everybody else is coming on the line. You'll see one of my rivals here on the left has got a more favored line type of thing, and she's practiced this in and out. It does this all day, every day. But here is where you see the fun ensue. There's about 10 boats in the sim ahead. You'll see my rival has to do evasive action to dodge a boat. And here I cross the border and my boat starts to fly. Now this is exactly what I was talking about in terms of making a crossing within a busy sim of stuff. And I lost about 20 seconds just there trying to recover, and this camera angle is like, what the heck, I can't see anything. And you see like where I started is not at the pin end, but I actually start at the committee boat end because that's where I recovered. And by the time I cross to the next sim, look at that start, 25 seconds. It's like, oh my goodness, there is no way I'm winning this. I crossed this one, and because there's already 4 boats in this region and a whole bunch of people on the platform, I have a similar issue. But now you see here, now that I've finally recovered and have control over everything, how much time has passed, and I'm in wind shadow of my direct rivals. So by the time I try to like go into the irons a little bit to get out of the irons, I've got another boat in my giving me wind shadow, and I was like, well, this race is toast. This race has been officially washed off in the name of science, but it doesn't mean I'm not just going to call it quits and end it here. I'm going to continue and just like see all the other lines, experiment with a few other things, because now that I'm not fighting for any wins, I could just play around a little bit, get used to it, have some practice. Every bit of practice time is always a good time, so we try, we keep going, and yeah, we stay behind the pack and we keep rolling. You'll notice that I have to go and adjust my navigation simply because it didn't trigger at the other mark because I wasn't anywhere close to it because of that lag issue that I had. So now that I've made my adjustment, I see where my arrow is for where my next mark is, which is actually wrong, so I need to adjust it again. That's more like it. I realize that I have actually made my turn a little bit too late, but that's not the worst thing because it gives me a little bit faster line. But just look at all those boats that are ahead of me. Like, not that I'm not used to it, like especially when I started, I was always way behind all of these folks. But it's like, I'm a racer, you see a boat next to you, you want to get ahead of it. But hey, chances are if I did my traditional start, I could have been ahead of at least half these boats, but not sure. But that's okay. Sailing from the back has its own set of fun because you can see how other people are sailing. Like, for example, that blue boat ahead, you see clearly that his boat is not healing a lot ever on any of these upwind legs, which is kind of funny because that is the slower way to sail this boat, yet he is somehow going faster than everybody else, which is, for me it sparks the questions, but that is something for me to investigate another day, another time. But for now, I just have to make my maneuvers cleanly. I get past this boat over here, and we keep sailing along. And we see our next mark. It is a clockwise turn, but I see a whole bunch of boats going above it, and I'm like, that's not the optimal line. And for me, this is kind of like, hey, opportunity. If these guys are going to take these poor lines, this is going to give me a chance to claw back into them. And as long as I make my turns, my transitions cleanly, I have every opportunity to get ahead and pass some more boats. And actually, to be perfectly honest, the one thing that's more interesting, well, you see the lag thing happening here again. The one thing more interesting than being ahead and winning is passing some boats. And here you see, they all had some pretty crappy turns. I have tons of momentum. I'm catching up to them hard. I could either try to pass them on the leeward, which is what I decided to do here, because if I go windward, I'm going to go into irons, and they have the opportunity to push me even further into irons. So I'm just like, you guys go ahead. I have momentum. I'm going to take you on the leeward side and try to pass. But I'm passing two boats here. It's not going to work. So, you know, the effort was made. I pushed forward. I got this close, which is cool. You know, like for that terrible start that I had to be this close to rivals, I think I can't ask for a better start. So, life goes on. We keep sailing. Again, you know, the same thing applies. You know, sails slow is steady, smooth, smooth is fast. And we just try. So here you see that one boat there, they tagged in front of a couple of other boats without giving them room to respond. That is, in my opinion, protest worthy, but you know, not everything needs to be a protest, we can just carry on. What this other red boat here is another rival who, you know, it's like questionable at best. She does make an attempt to correct herself, so it's not completely an issue, but you do see like my speed is just completely dropped as a result of that encounter because I am not where I need to tack. And they have all, again, tacked way too early, which means they're all on not favored lines. But, you know, this little kerfuffle here, it's gonna cost me a little bit, but that's okay. We knew we were not in the runnings for winning this anyway because, you know, like from my bad start. But that's fine. We just go on, we keep sailing. We are on a favored line here. Everybody's below, which means they're going to have to spend some time coming into the islands to get above, into the islands to get above towards this mark. So, let me chin down, tucked in. Let's get on there and try to make as few mistakes as possible. I say that as I make a mistake. And try to get myself towards that mark and try to catch up towards those boats that are ahead of me. It's not impossible, but, you know, let's just try to sail as smooth as possible. This is my opportunity to practice the code swapping technique I've spoken of and try to keep my boat heeled appropriately and try to like build up and capitalize on those bursts of speed to catch the rest of the boats who I know are not employing this technique. So I do have an advantage because I'm using this technique. So let's see how many boats I can pass and what I can make happen. Like you can already see a green dot to my right hand side. They are like I'm catching and passing them because I'm just taking advantage of those bursts in speed a lot more effectively than they are by just not employing the technique. And you see the boats ahead of me who is employing the technique by how much of that healing action they're doing, their sail swapping. You see like some of them are not doing it, some of them are doing it well, some of them are just not doing it well, and I'm actually catching up to those who are not doing it or are not doing it well. And okay, and you see like also if you look at my mini map, those four dots are like neatly lined up in a line, and they're held up by somebody in front who is not employing this technique, which means that person's holding these guys back. They're all kind of like fighting because they're so close together. You see me putting a distance between the boats behind me. You see that they also lost speed because they had to come upwind a bit to get this mark where I was able to just hold my line and keep going. Now, the gaps will extend a little bit because they're now going downhill and people getting there slower than what have you. So, okay, cool. Not the worst case, not the end of the world. And here is where some things get interesting. And I think what happened here is I am using lines optimally where they are not. So what I mean is you see some people are further north from me at the moment. You see some people are directly in line with me. And you see some people are further, well, it's kind of like you see like the different lines that people are choosing, and you see where that beacon is, what direction they're heading in. So that boat to my right is not heading in the ideal direction, but she's probably trying to make sure she doesn't get hit with any kind of wind shadow. That boat on my left is going to eat some wind shadow for sure, which is going to slow them down and bring us closer to the action. That other blue boat that's way ahead, I don't know what their story is, but I can't really see them from here, but they're basically heading there. They're like, now because of the lines that they've chosen, they've covered more distance, but they are going to be moving a little bit faster. So, okay, cool. Now it's just a matter for me to continue my ethos of sailing clean. You see there's a blue dot way to my right that took a really interesting line, but they are coming in faster, but they will have to make an extra jibe to clear this mark comfortably. And look at how hot they come in, and boom, chaos ensues. And here is what I'm going to call my maneuver of the race. I take this thing so well that I just passed 3 boats in one go. And not just past 3 boats, but get closer to that blue boat that is well ahead. I've got solid momentum going around that mark where for whatever reason these guys lost marks. I see one of my rivals here trying to push me into the irons. They are well within their rights to do so. We are currently not overlapped. And I see those other two boats trying to do the same thing, and I see that blue boat. Wait, hold on, how do we catch that blue boat? But at any rate, because I'm now the windwardmost boat, I need to be particularly cautious and careful because, well, like I'm the one who needs to watch out, right? I'm the one who does not have right of way compared to all these boats. And this rival over here is one of those very tricky ones that likes to deliberately screw with you, and well, it is what it is. But we both could have gotten way faster and cleaner if she just kept her line and I kept my line. But the problem for her, if she allowed that, is she won't be able to tack because she'll be at my mercy, because any tack she does will be at risk of causing a foul, which is not ideal to her. So it makes perfect sense for her to do what she's doing in terms of trying to push me into the irons and trying to get me to lose speed so that I can't make a safe pass, because right now she still cannot tack, and that blue boat that's next to her can't tack either because they're all basically now at my mercy because they cannot make a maneuver safely without giving us time. So as I called it, that blue boat has gone and turned in and caused a foul. That is pretty blatant in my opinion. I'm at my turning mark, and because I'm in the favorite position of being the second or third boat, I'll get to make my turn. And now here I am officially in front. Now, the drawback of this early turn is I have a tight line and a very tight window for me to go and hit that mark ahead of me. The two boats that are to my left and behind, they have a slightly better angle, which means they'll be able to take a little bit more speed. So here I have to rely on my ability to use close water technique, knowing that the blue boat does not employ that technique, knowing that the other boat behind me is not on similar levels to me when doing it, so I just need to keep this clean, keep it going. I see the race director starts ahead of us right here, and she goes into the action. Great. So far, so good, moving along. It is just on me, and this is, another point where I have to stop and ask. I see myself doing all this healing stuff. I'm not going crazy and absurd. I'm not doing crazy turns or have to lose a lot of speed, although maybe that is the mistake I'm making over here. But one thing for sure is, I'm going at 8 knots, which is not supposed to be possible if you're just doing the jib at this thing, even if you have 1 degree better heading than I do. But yet, he is catching up. So, I'm going to chalk this up out. He is definitely a better sailor. He is definitely sailing a lot smoother than me. That was one of the feedbacks I was given in terms of when they were watching me do my sails. They were telling me I'm turning a lot, which is going to cause me to lose speed on those turns. So, that's what I'm chalking this up to. But here is another thing. He is the windward boat now. I'm the leeward boat. We're approaching the mark. I have the inside line. I am ahead. He's overtaken. So, let's watch this. This could be debatable, but looking at his angle, he just turns and bumps me right there, causing me to lose a little bit of speed. He needs to keep clear for sure. I have the right of way for 3 different reasons. And what he does here is just turn straight into me and try to pinch me to that, and try to pinch me into that other boat that I was talking about. And watch more as I'm at 8.5 knots and he just turns into me and completely kills my speed. And that killing of my speed, 1, gets him to go forward ahead of me. 2, makes me lose 2 spots of places because, well, then I've lost a ton of momentum. I'm at 6 knots and I have to make it to place. I've completely lost everything from my trim and everything. I've got to go and reset. And these guys can just sail clean right past me because, well, I have to accelerate and they're already at speed. Now, I did my protest, but there's no race director in the vicinity to see it, so I have to message them directly and say, hey, I've done this protest because of this foul, but I can't do it now because I'm still in a race. I'm still in a very tight, close thing with these 2 sailors over here. If I were to go to the race director now, I'm going to lose out big time. It's a very small thing, but a huge impact. Look how much lead that guy has when we were neck and neck the entire time. It's there's a reason why there are these rules of engagement and when you can and can't make contact. But, some people just don't care. It's like it is what it is. So in the end, as far as I know, he does not get penalized for it, and it's probably because I finished ahead, which is still nonsense because the behavior is just going to continue. But you know what? It is what it is. You see here, as I'm trying to type my protest, I'm losing even more speed because, well, I'm busy typing and not sailing. Not ideal, But if I don't address it in the race, the penalty will never happen, and nothing will ever happen of it, and big whoop they do. So here, the best I can do, and you see that blue boy, he's made a he's taking a crappy line. I don't know what he does, but at any rate, he's taking his line. The boat in front of me here is taking, I think, the optimal line. I am in a slightly higher up line because I want to give him shadow, but I don't think I'm in a position to do that. I kind of see their sail flailing a little bit. I'm not sure if that's because of shadow or because of something else. But basically, I lost out big time from that. I mean, to be fair, I had a terrible start and was not in the run for winning this in the first place. And you know, this is quite honestly a remarkable recovery from this race. So I should definitely count my blessings and not be too mad. But again, you know, like if the guy made a clean pass, right, just a clean pass, like, yep, that was a clean pass, no problem whatsoever. But it's not like I was racing aggressively defensive either. I was just holding my line, because for me to go defense means I have to go into irons, and he has way more luxury in terms of because he's got more gap. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. My race finishes. I can't remember. I'll find in a few seconds when we cross this line how far I do. You see that boat there is going to jibe away or just turn away, so that's just not having any risk of wind shadows as I build up speed. And I finish. Let's see, where was it? I don't remember. Where is this finish? So runner-up was C. I come in third. Somebody else comes in fourth, so I finish just ahead of them. And the guy who followed me finishes fifth. It could have been worse. In the end, it was a good recovery, and now for sure I know that my system, my network, whatever it is, has the limitation. So with that, and the video clip ending quite abruptly with this black screen, maybe what I'll do is put in the final results so you can see what those look like in terms of the handicap. But that is the end of this video. I've got a couple more to upload, so let me get right on it.